ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. After our break of a week, alhamdulillah, we're back with our sessions, and it's good to see you all back here with us. And there's a few new faces on here. We're still accepting more participants, so as the session will go, inshallah, the numbers will go as well. Inshallah, you all had a good week, and of course the kids are back. Kids who are back at school, inshallah, that's going well for you as well after the long summer break, and that you're all inshallah safe and healthy. Today's topic is quite important in this social media age: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and everything else that I know very little about, but inshallah Sheikh knows more about it than I do. So it's important to have this session just to refresh our minds. I'm sure you all may have heard something similar, but this is our take on it. That will help you navigate your way or use these apps as and when you think they are necessary. We have, alhamdulillah, Ustad Salman Dr. Salman with us, who you've seen previously, and who's done this talk many months ago, I believe it was. So what I'll do, inshallah, is cut away now. Let's Dr. take the session and then join again when there are questions. And again, please ask questions during the course of the session, either directly to us or directly on the group chat, so we can all see and benefit from the answers. Assalamu alaikum for now. Over to you, Doctor.
Jazakallahu khairan. Okay, bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Can everyone hear me all right? Just give me a thumbs up. I want to try and make this as interactive as possible. As you can with the interacting with the screen in front of you. So let's see if you let's test everyone if they can find the little hands up or thumbs up button. Give it a press on and off. I'm going to be asking you a few questions as well. So that would be good to get your reaction and just see who's awake. All right. So far we have 2 people awake. I'm not going to proceed until at least we have, I guess, 50% people who are awake / know how to interact with this thing. Let me share the old screen. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Now I've got a list of the participants up here, a little window, so I can see if you're raising your hand or giving any interactions. If you want to know how to interact using Zoom, if you're using a computer, you just go to the participants tab, I think. You hover over your own name and it should give you some options, something like that, or like a raise hand or something like that. If you're on your phone, then I don't know how to, should be easy enough. And yeah, we've got the chat box open as well, so anyone could respond to any questions here. So with the chat box open, let's see, how should we do this? Let's see, everyone write a salam or something. Okay, so Salma Vohra, you found the thumbs up button. Very good. Yeah, let's see if anyone. Okay, salam, Iskandar, Rayan, nice. A few other people typing. Okay, so we're at the end of the holidays, and a lot of people have been probably having a conversation / argument that goes like this: "Oh man, Dad, Mom, why do I have so many rules about screen time and stuff? None of my friends have these rules. Why are you so tough on me?" Or father or mother might say, "Son, daughter, why are you on that screen? Get off that screen. Let's come and eat, or come and speak to us, or let's go out and do something in real life." Yeah, IRL. How many people is this a familiar kind of conversation topic for? Let's see a show of hands or thumbs up, some kind of interaction. Yeah, or even just let me know in the comments. Yeah. hopefully by the end of this discussion, we'll all be a bit more enlightened about some of the mechanics behind why these arguments / discussions happen, right? What's going on behind the scenes, behind the screens, right? These things are increasingly more and more part of our lives, and we're getting younger and younger as we, learn to use them. The other day, I picked up my phone and I checked the Photos app, and I found loads of random pictures of the floor, the ceiling, the wall, half of someone's face. And I realized it was our 1-year-old baby who was crawling around and managed to get my phone, open the camera app, and start taking pictures by itself, mashallah. Yeah, so this is all going to have an unpredictable, someone could say an unpredictable result on just how we live, right? What effect is this having on us, okay, as a community, as a species, going forward? And that's why I like to talk about this. And I talk about this topic to different communities and different. I've been talking about it for a while, and it's made me quite an unpopular person with both parents and children. And you'll find out why that is, right? Because when it comes to parents, I encourage kids to bug them and, get them to pay for certain things. For example, one of the things that we're discussing is to avoid free stuff. Yeah, avoid free games, free services online, because if something is free, you're the product. Right? We'll discuss a bit about that. When it comes to why kids don't like me, it might be because I'm always saying that we should consider carefully giving young people smart devices, internet-connected devices, until they're 25 years old, which will make a lot of people laugh and think this is not realistic, right? But hear me out, okay? I know it's unrealistic, but if you have that statement in your mind that this shouldn't be given freely to people if they're under 25, then hopefully that communicates some of the gravity of the situation. Now, let me ask you this: how many people, by show of hands or comments or in the chat box, how many times have you picked up your phone or tablet or some kind of device and then thought, why did I pick this up again? Just by a show of hands or some kind of emoji going. So it only happened to one person? How about this? Your phone or your tablet or your laptop, it buzzes, it notifies you, you pick it up, you see maybe a message and it's got a link or something, and you go to another message, and when you're done with that, you open another thing, and one thing leads to another, and eventually you realize, wow, it's been half an hour. How many people has this happened to? No one? 2 people? Only 2 people? 3 people? The rest of you maybe are a bit shy. Yeah? Yep, there's coming in now. I put it to you that this is by design. Okay? And first I want to talk a bit about why this is. Okay? For us to understand a bit. Does everyone have the ability to unmute themselves and speak or ask a question? I want you to tell me, what do you think this slide refers to? What is this explaining? What's this describing? Rather, someone want to unmute themselves or put their hand up or something before I start picking on people? They said you should have some Q&A, but they didn't say who was doing the Q's and who was doing the A's. So I'm going to be asking some Q's, and I'm expecting some A's from you guys. So who's got access to their mic here? Or is everyone blocked or something? Iskander, you want to have a go? Try and describe this slide to me.
Basically, the change in our environment. Now we started off very basic, and then it's moved on to the industrial revolution to what we now have, the internet revolution.
Very good. This is just a slide I whipped up, probably using copyrighted images or something. Just describing the economy, right? Of maybe this part of the world or from where we're from. There was a time where we used human and animal, power for productivity, for generating income, farming, agriculture, that kind of stuff. Then we moved to Industrial Revolution, came along, and we started exploiting fossil fuels and stuff, and machinery and industrialization, etc., etc. And then something happened. We moved towards data, we moved towards information, we moved towards computers and stuff. So many people thought before we lived in an agrarian economy or agricultural economy, and then an industrial economy, and then an information economy. But some people put a bit of nuance on it. They said, wait a second, we don't really live in an information economy, because if there's one thing you have, what is an economy? What is economics? They said they argue economics is how a society deals with scarce resources, right? And if there's one thing there's no scarcity of in the online world in today's day and age, is information. There's too much information. So the actual commodity isn't just information per se. The scarce commodity that is being competed for, that is being traded, that is being bought and sold, that is being auctioned, is not information, but your attention. And we live in an attention economy where the overriding logic of corporations, companies, apps, computer games, device developers, tech companies, etc., their aim is to fragment and grab an increasing chunk of your and my attention, our eyeballs, our attention, right? Some people might say, so what? Because there's a tendency to think, okay, look, when I was a kid, we had, a little Nintendo or whatever, and my or a TV, and my, dad would say, well, why are you spending so much time on this TV? And before, people think, anytime there's something new, then these, old fogies, they just complain, right? When the radio invented, people were like, oh, why you just listen to the radio? Why don't you go outside and, enjoy the weather and whatever? When the television was invented, people were like, oh, this is terrible. No one's listening to the radio anymore. When the phone was invented, people were like, oh, no, people are spending ages on these things. So these devices are just the next thing in that list, right? So old people complain, young people like, yeah, whatever, and they just move on and it becomes normal. There's maybe an element of truth there, but there's one very, very important thing that is special about these devices. What I mean by these devices is devices that are connected to the internet, right? Devices that are internet enabled, devices that are have teams and teams of these people behind them. And who are these people? These are what are known as attention engineers. Attention engineers, so that's a huge difference between these devices today and devices or toys and new technology that from previous generations. Because we live in an attention economy now, behind all of these devices, behind any successful app or game or anything like that, are teams and teams of attention engineers. And their job is to do one thing: to utilize hundreds of years worth of accumulated wisdom in psychology, in neuroscience even now, in order to do one thing. And that is increase time spent on site, increase the time with which the time that you spend on these devices, these services, and so on and so forth, right? These games, especially, like I said, if they're free. Because if they're free, that number one, they're going to be laced with this persuasion architecture, this architecture to persuade you, to fracture your attention, and to get a bigger and bigger slice of your attention. right? Somebody's doing some graffiti, mashallah. This is a very righteous crowd. The graffiti is alhamdulillah, mashallah. But let's keep the, I don't know if you can, Skandar, if you can, or Khalid, if you can revoke rights to annotation or something, lest someone do something silly. But yeah, make dhikr. So you might think, so what? Okay, throughout history, people have always tried to get our attention. They're selling something, or trying to convince us to sign up for something, or buy something, or join this group or that group. So what? This is just attention engineers and app developers and so forth. And why is it so different? The difference is, the problem is, they're really, really, really good at it, right? And I'll give you just one example. Right, really interesting study from someone called a group led by Michael Kosinski in Stanford University with Cambridge University. They took just Facebook, right? Just one social media networking site that all people are on, and they took people's publicly available information, your Facebook likes, okay. And they said they did these tests on people and questionnaires and so forth. And they in this study they said, with knowledge of just 15 of your publicly available Facebook likes, we can predict aspects of your psychology, right? Aspects of your personality better than your average co-worker. With knowledge of 150 of your publicly available Facebook likes, you like this thing, you like that thing. With 150 of them, they're able to predict aspects of your personality better than your own mother. And with knowledge of 300 of these publicly available Facebook likes, they're able to predict your personality, how you're going to behave, how you're going to respond to things, better than your spouse on average, okay? And this is a very nice quote from him. He said, our smartphone is a vast psychological questionnaire that we are constantly filling out, both consciously and unconsciously. Okay. So this is number one. Where does this lead? Right. All of this information is being fed into these devices, into these services. And this is just the publicly available stuff. What Facebook servers do know, and Instagram or Snapchat, for example, is what you like, what you dislike, how fast you scroll over something, how slowly you scroll over something, what you type and then delete before pressing OK. Yeah, even that is stored on Facebook servers, for example. All of this stuff, okay, is feeding into something that we can thank this guy for, who came along a few hundred years ago. His name is Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khawarizmi. He invented what is known as the algorithm named after him, right? What's the problem here? You see, if it was down to human beings, we can rely on some kind of human, empathy or values or, sensibility that, we're not going to go down that route. We're not going to do something that terrible to capture your attention and fracture it. But the problem now is it's become automated using machine learning algorithms that were just started, that were fed this information, given access to all this information about our psychology, what makes us tick, makes us click, that was programmed to do just one thing, that is increase time spent on site, right? And every social media site, every app, a successful app, every successful game has its own algorithm. An algorithm is just a set of instructions, do this, if this happens, then do that, then do this, then do that, get the information from here, combine it from the information from there, and do whatever, show the person whatever, is more likely to get them to click. Just give an example, right? How many of you have seen this website? It's not that popular. It's called youtube.com. Anyone heard of that? Yeah? No one? Hands up or... Two people have heard of YouTube, mashallah. This is a tech-savvy crowd. Okay, 4 people have heard of YouTube. What happens at the end of a YouTube video? Anyone ever been on a YouTube video?
It's like a rabbit hole, isn't it? It just leads you to another and another and another.
Yeah. So YouTube, the watch next suggested video, it's based off YouTube's proprietary algorithms that they have. It's their intellectual property, right? And I don't know about you, but when you watch a YouTube video, the videos that they suggest that you watch afterwards are pretty interesting, aren't they? Yeah, they're pretty good. It's almost as though YouTube has access to deep, psychological insights about your personality. What you want to watch, what you like to watch. Actually, no, not what you want to or like to watch, but what you will watch. What's the difference between these two statements? One is something you like to watch, and another thing is something you will watch. What's the difference between these two statements, these two types of content? Is the question clear?
Can I answer the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
One is what you will watch is something that is forcing you into it without wanting to watch it. You are tempted to watch it. And one is you will watch it. The first one you say you want to watch it. It has it in mind that you want to watch that. It's planned already in your mind, but the other one is not planned, it's being put in your mind. This is how I look at it.
Excellent. You've hit two very important things there that one answer, mashallah. One is your own sovereignty as a human being, your own willpower, your own will. Okay? Someone else is telling you what to do. They're controlling what thoughts are going through your mind. They're controlling, or they're predicting your future behavior so well that they're actually influencing your future actions now. And this is a whole new field of study now, right? There's a very good book about this called Surveillance Capitalism. Take a screenshot if you want and have a look, right? It's called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff, okay? There's that element here. But there's also the difference, okay, between what you want to watch. I want to watch things that, that maybe I'm interested in, or etc., etc. But something I will watch is something that makes me angry. It's something that I really hate. It's something that I know it's bad for me maybe, but I'm just glued to it because, like that rubbernecking instinct you have when you see a car accident in the motorway and you just watch it, because of some primitive, reaction inside you, and that's what many people have found when they're actually looking at the impact that this is having on us. Okay, Zainab Tufekci, for example, check her out. She's a sociologist. She studies social movements and the internet. She did an experiment on YouTube's Watch Next algorithm. Yeah, she looked at a Donald Trump video back in the day with the first election, and with a fresh computer, account and stuff. She looked at a Donald Trump video. Then Watch Next, another Donald Trump video was suggesting to her. Then another one. Then another one. Then another one. And she said it was getting more and more and more extreme. It's getting more and more right wing, until eventually she found herself in crazy right wing conspiracy theories and white supremacy and racist videos and that kind of stuff. So she did another experiment with another computer, fresh clean slate. She watched a Hillary Clinton video, and then another one came up, then another one, until she was in then a Bernie Sanders one, right? And it was getting more and more left wing. Okay, and more extreme, until she was in really weird far left conspiracy theory videos and stuff that just has no that you wouldn't want to watch initially, but you just led down that rabbit hole, as Ustad Iskandar mentioned, right? Now, and she said, just for a laugh, I was watching a vegetarian video about vegetarianism, and then another one came out, and another one. and eventually started showing me veganism videos. Yeah. Miskeen, they can't even have, Bachara can't even eat egg and cheese and stuff. Yeah. So she said something very interesting. She said, it's almost as though you're never extreme enough for YouTube's algorithms, right? You're not extreme enough, because that is what the algorithms have determined will actually increase time spent on site. Not because the people were evil, because they coded these algorithms and now they're like brain scans. They don't understand them. They've learned and become so sophisticated that they are. It's impossible, okay, for them to actually turn this off, okay. Now, right, what's happened? What world does that create? Okay, companies are competing for our attention. Salma Vora, can you stop drawing on the screen, please? Thank you. What world does that create? Companies compete for our attention. Yeah, they're willing to do whatever it takes to get it. They have access to information about our most intimate personality details. Okay, what does this create? What is it? What impact is this having on our attention span, for example? Right? Who knows who this guy is? Or that guy? Right? You know, they asked Steve Jobs. A journalist asked Steve Jobs once, a famous article online. So, what do your kids think about the iPad? He said, I don't know. We haven't given it to them. This is the CEO of Apple. He was the CEO of Apple. So we haven't given the kids iPad because we heavily regulate how much tech our kids are exposed to. Right? The chief editor of Wired magazine. And remember the conversation / argument I mentioned at the beginning? Look at this over here. Chris Anderson, former chief editor of Wired, that's famous tech magazine. He said, my kids accused me and my wife of being fascists and overly concerned about tech. And they say none of their friends have the same rules, right? That's because these people who are in this industry, they know what impact this is having on people. They know what the underlying logic is of all of these devices, and they protect their own children from it, right? Happily, some of them will sell these devices to you and your children, our children, but for their own children, they're very, very, very careful when it comes to their exposure to this tech. And that's why many people say, for example, these are more addictive than cigarettes and alcohol. It's more dangerous potentially than handing a child a loaded gun, right? And we'll talk about some solutions later on, inshallah, in a minute. And one of them is, don't give a child something you don't know how to set up yourself, right? Because many people don't realize the information that they're just leaking away. Many people don't realize the impact that certain things have on a young child's mind, right? As one of founding president of Facebook, for example, said, Facebook's architects, he said, we exploited a vulnerability in human psychology, right? This is just one example. Okay, I'll give you two examples of under 25 years old, a young person's brain. We have an overactive striatum, which is the midbrain, which deals with reward, dopamine and that kind of stuff. And we have an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, which is linked to calculating risk. And these two things combined, in general, a young person, it leads to an increased risk-taking and impulsive behavior, as well as a heightened sensitivity to instant gratification, instant rewards. And it's games, apps, sites, especially the free ones, they are laced with dopamine hijacking techniques. There are companies that offer consultancy work to help increase the dopamine spike in viewers of your app. You can dictate your app to them or your game to them, and they'll put these little things in there. There's one literally called Dopamine Labs, for example, right? You can check it out. What does this lead to? An example, one researcher came across this by accident, right? What's this? Snapchat. You send a message, you send a video, picture message to your friend, and you know that's how Snapchat works pretty much in a nutshell, right? And they implemented this streaks system, yeah, which is a fine example of a dopamine hijacking technique. Okay, if you send a message, send a video, whatever, between you and a friend for X number of days in a row, it will have this little fire flame icon and the number of days that you've messaged them consecutively. This researcher, she found that children were actually taking random pictures, useless pictures, yeah, of the floor, video of the ceiling, whatever, just to keep that number going up. Yeah, just to keep that number going up and not lose it and let it go down to zero. Because there's no monetary kind of incentive you get, but just that dopamine kind of you're lured into what we call a compulsion loop, right? They found kids were even giving their passwords to other people when they're going on holiday, or they don't have access to their phone or something, just so that they can keep this thing going. This is an example of that. So what is all of this having? What impact is all of this having? It's leading to FOMO, a new anxiety disorder, fear of missing out, that is increasingly gripping our young brothers and sisters. Okay, it's leading to a plethora of different mental health disorders, attention deficit disorders, for example, sleep deprivation. The Guardian did a survey. 1 in 5 secondary school pupils said they were interrupting their own sleep in order to check their messages. Right, these are teenagers who, you know, the one group, age group, for whom a solid, uninterrupted block of sleep is more important than any other group. Yeah, for obviously regulating their body clock, for their intellectual development, for their immune system, even for wound healing. All these types of things are affected when you don't have proper night's sleep, for example. Girls are in a more dangerous position, right, because of a heightened proportion of them that seek comfort on social media when they or take to social media when they're anxious or worried, right? So take any Sister Fatima, for example, right? She goes to social media when she is feeling depressed or anxious. The social media algorithms, not some evil cabal of people in a boardroom somewhere, but artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms, automatic algorithms, right? Computers that are designed to do only one thing, right? Increase time spent on site. They're showing her content, more and more content that is going to keep her perpetually in the state that she is when she is more likely to be on that device, on that service, on that networking site, for example, i.e. increasing her incidences of depression and anxiety, right? Instagram or Snapchat, famous for the compare and despair problem, right? Where they're targeted automatically and shown images of unnatural images of beautiful, airbrushed models and that kind of stuff. Unnatural examples of beauty that are unattainable for humans, Photoshop and all that kind of stuff, which then in turn makes them feel more anxious, more depressed. That compare and despair vicious loop. Likewise, a brother, a young boy, he might always take to social media or a particular game or whatever when he's angry, wants to blow off steam, he wants to get in a fight with or argument with someone. And lo and behold, his algorithms will keep showing him stuff that will keep him in that state, right? We have to also be very careful about, okay, the cookies. This Cookie Monster, a different type of cookie that, we're just giving away packets of information, right? Online gaming in particular, for example, you have to be careful. With the case, for example, of Brett Bednine, I think 2015, okay, he befriended someone playing Call of Duty online. He groomed him, he brainwashed him against his own mother, he lured him somewhere, he abused him, and he killed him, right? Many people don't know that the devices that they give their children, their internet connected devices, any random person can get their data, get their information, start speaking to people, start speaking to children, and they may often have a nefarious agenda, right? We know we're not going to just bring any random stranger into our house and, play with our kids, but many of us are doing this not knowingly, right? We get a device that is internet connected, that is you can play online games with, and they're actually communicating and playing with people, and some people have a predatory intention. They seek out young people, they seek out and they have bad and evil agendas. So all of this stuff that I'm talking about, there's so much more to be to talk about, but the pattern is this, right? On the one hand, we have on the left of the screen, for example, we have an industry which is geared towards doing one thing, doing whatever it takes, utilizing whatever automatic, non-human input processes and algorithms that are learning using your psychological, vast amounts of psychological data to do one thing: increase the time you spend on that game or that site or that device. On one hand, telling you to do something, telling you just carry on, click continue, don't pause, don't go away, carry on doing this thing. And on the other hand, you have the two human beings, probably out of all mankind, who care about your long-term benefit more than anyone else, right? Your mother and your father. We're constantly being put between these two things, especially for young brothers and sisters, right? So it goes without saying that if there is a clash, right, between what I feel like I want to do, what the phone is telling me, what the game is telling me, it's telling me to carry on, it's telling me to continue, it's telling me to don't put it down, and my parents are telling me something else, it's just logical that we go with not the automated algorithm that doesn't care about my long-term mental health, doesn't care about my long-term success, doesn't care about me as a human being. It's not even a human, it's just a cold, a soulless, heartless machine that is just trying to sell my attention to the highest bidder, right? If there's a conflict between that and my parents, it's just logical that I should choose my parents, right? Now, what do we do? How do we get out of this plethora of problems that come about because of these devices? Because I'm not going to say just barge in and everyone just get rid of these devices. In this room alone, I have like from 15, 20 internet connected devices, right? It's not about getting rid of them. It's about nurturing a healthy relationship with tech and knowing how to use it, because many people are just giving them or giving their kids them and they don't know how to use it. So the first thing we have to be wary of, what are the solutions? Number one, obviously make dua, okay? Have a good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to get through some practical examples now, what solution, how we can protect ourselves and stay safe online. Number one, first and foremost, make dua, have a good relationship with our creator, because he is the one who is going to look after us and protect us from the seen and unseen problems. After we make dua, while we're making dua, here's some practical things that I want to tell you, okay? One thing we can do, okay, to break the dopamine cycle is turn off notifications, okay? Turn off push notifications, okay? What does this do? See, when one of the strongest lures into a cycle of addiction and FOMO, for example, is having notifications turned on. What does this mean? When you're doing something productive, you're listening to something, or you're reading something, or you're doing some work, or you're just exercising, or whatever, you're cooking, cleaning, whatever. You're doing something productive, something useful with your life, yeah? And you hear that chime, that bell of new message, or that vibration. By the way, the frequency and the tone of these vibrations are tuned, right, to maximum efficacy and efficiency, right, such that to break and distract your attention and then grab a bit of it. Why? Because this is the attention economy, remember, that we're living in. That's the scarce commodity that is being bought and sold and auctioned and competed for. So you get that notification bell. That thing that you were doing, which is important, yeah, even if it's something menial, but it's something you have to do, like cleaning, for example, whatever, or reading a book or studying, that thing you were doing, now you've become distracted from that thing. It takes up to 25 minutes to regain the same level of concentration, and it increases your distractibility over the next 4 or 5 hours, right? Like something like 5-fold. I can't remember the exact stats, right? So what does it do? Just from that one interruption, because it's designed, okay, to manipulate your neuroscience, your psychology, and based on millions of data points, right? Of what type of vibration, what type of sound, fractures somebody's and catches someone's attention, right? It has these effects on us. And if we're going throughout our day with this, it's going to make us obviously less successful human beings in anything. And it's going to make us perpetually in a distracted and easily distractible state, okay? So leading to a whole bunch of attention kind of deficit disorders, right? And I'm not a youth worker or anything, but anytime I do try and speak to young brothers, I notice just anecdotally a trend where maybe they can't even maintain eye contact, some of them, right? For long, having a conversation with a human being, for example, getting distracted easily, maybe start drawing on the screen, for example, right? So this is one thing you can do to stop the cycle, turn off notifications. So it will stop that stuff happening, but it will also do another very important thing. It will put you back in charge of your own willpower, which means this: you need to think, okay, I'm going to check my phone this time between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, or every hour for this many minutes, right? And that's going to do something very important. Instead of your phone making a noise and alerting you and controlling you, your phone using you, your laptop using you, the games console using you, you begin to now use the device. Okay, that's very, very important. Just from so many benefits, just from turning off notifications. And if you don't know how to do that, very easy. One of the brothers can tell you how to do it. Go to any settings. This is more of a trend now. Even the new Apple iOS, for example, will give you focus modes and that kind of stuff that lets you choose which notification to turn off. So turn off push notifications, they're called, right? So notifications pop up on your device. Deny all permission to do that, okay? And we're not saying don't stop using your device. If you want to use it for 10 hours a day, it's up to you, right? But at least you're choosing when to use it. So you're the user, you're not the one being used, okay? So turn off notifications. The next thing you can do, and this is something that I've got a lot of good feedback from, whenever I tell brothers and sisters to do this, and they actually do this, they report back saying this completely changed, my interaction to tech and my relation with my family, and really helped us and that kind of stuff. And that is a digital sunset. Okay, digital sunset is what it sounds like. After a certain point in the evening, for example, you guys choose with your own families. You say no electronic devices. Interact you know, the human way. Okay, not devices, not watching something, not listening to something, just you know, eating, maybe having a meal, going for a walk, or having a conversation without these devices. Okay, and this has the other side of it is the digital sunrise. Same thing, right? I.e., don't let a device, an internet connected device, be the last thing you see at night and the first thing you see in the morning, right? I'm guilty of this sometimes a lot as well, but don't use your phone, for example, as your alarm clock. If the temptation is too hard there, right? You can get these new alarm clocks that don't have a phone function in them, right? This will, you know, you might not believe me, but if you check on Amazon or something, there's this new technology that they released where it's able to, you know, have a programmed alarm at a particular time, and it doesn't have a phone and social media and games and that kind of stuff at the same time. Okay, so digital sunset is very simple. After a certain point, guys, again, you choose, but again, that means you're putting the sovereignty back in your own willpower now. After a certain time, and before a certain time in the morning, after a certain time in the evening, don't use any electronic devices unless you're using you need a pacemaker or something. Don't turn off that. Now, be very wary of the whole under 25s thing. I know, practically speaking, people aren't gonna, you know, listen to this, but as long as you remember some guy saying, don't use an internet-enabled smart device unsupervised under the age of 25, you're gonna think, wait, there's something that's unrealistic. That's too old. But why is this such a serious thing, right? Just remember that in your head. Maybe experiment with dumb phones, right? If you need a phone, it doesn't have to have all this kind of stuff on it. Again, reminder, the thing I mentioned at the beginning, okay, the reason why parents don't like me is I tell kids, don't play free games. Why is that? Number one, if something's free, then you're the product, right? Your attention is being bought and sold. Number two, as a result of that, it's going to be laced with dopamine hijacking techniques. It's going to be end up costing you in the long run anyway. Most of these are either sustained by advertising or in-app purchases or in-game purchases. Fortnite is a great example / terrible example. It makes $1 million a day, where it was in its peak, just selling silly things, you know, and lots of parents, you know, getting in trouble with their kids because they realize £1,000 bill on their credit card statement or something as a result of that. So as a result, if you're going to play games, push your parents to buy you high quality games that were made by proper game developers, not by people who are just trying to hijack your attention and sell it to some advertising or sell you in-app purchases and that kind of stuff. Buy proper games made by the traditional, you know, game experts and developers and stuff. Also, lead by example, right? Especially if you're a parent or if you have younger brothers and sisters, for example, as well. The reason why lots of young baby, like I mentioned in the beginning, wants to play with the phone because they see mum and baba always on the phone, right? It's something that we have to be real about. We also have to recognize, but be very, very careful, right? When it comes to someone, especially under the age of 25, don't give them a smart internet-enabled device until you know yourself how to set the settings, so that, for example, random people can't contact them in the middle of a game, so that, for example, it's not tracking their data, their GPS location, for example, their online browsing data, and so on and so forth afterwards. All right. What else can we do? You can't beat addictions cold turkey, right? I'm just looking for this. I couldn't find this. I think I'm using an old version of the PowerPoint, but I had a slide about how to replace get out of kind of addiction loops with something, cultivate another interest, like something which is not easy, not trivial, that requires a bit of challenge, a bit of technique and skill, like maybe a sport or a hobby, or learning a language or learning a skill, or whatever, something fun, yeah, something enjoyable, so that people can, or especially young people, can actually learn getting good at something, yeah, getting good at an art, getting good at a sport, getting good at a skill, right? Something that challenges us, and something that requires some focus and concentration, because that's how we'll begin to regain some of our attention, the ability to focus and be attentive in get into the zone. Sometimes that they call it, they might call it in the zone, or they might call it flow states, and everything melts away, and you're actually focused on something which is not trivial. There's something which is, useful and a bit challenging, that's how we can get out of these kind of addiction things. Because dopamine as a molecule, it's not an evil thing. It's something there's huge benefit in. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it in us, right? But it's supposed to be used for productive things, like setting yourself goals or looking for something, and trying to achieve a target and achieving that thing, for example. And I always remember a statement from a friend of mine who became Muslim after we left high school. He said, I realized that I would get the same buzz from smoking a joint, smoking weed. I would get the same buzz and same enjoyment for taking my little sister to the park, right? It's one is just hijacking that loop, the dopamine system and so forth, shortcut. But the other is an example of doing it properly, what dopamine was created for, and serotonin and these types of hormones that give you satisfaction, that give you happiness after doing something and achieving something. So this is really important for us as well. I'm not saying just kind of lock yourself up and don't just turn off the Wi-Fi, but cultivate other interests that are fulfilling and wholesome, and will give you that boost in a better way. So we've spoken about the economy that we're in, the attention economy. We've spoken about what we are subjected to, especially on free services, apps, games, and so forth. We are the product, and a huge industry exists. The difference between these devices, and I said any toy, any thing in the past, that any gadget or technology in the past, the difference between that and today is this economy that we live in, that the attention engineers behind all of these devices and apps and games and so forth, whose job is to do one thing: utilize the deepest recesses of your own personality and your psyche that you don't even know about, your spouse doesn't even know about, your family doesn't know about. Utilize that in order to do one thing: increase the time you spend on the site. You are the product. Your attention is a product rather than being the consumer. We've spoken about what impact this is having, especially on young people. And we've spoken about a few things to get out of this kind of the dangerous minefield of this area, and get more into a healthy relationship with tech, which is, number one, cultivating a good relationship between you and Allah. Number two, turning off these notifications and deciding yourself when you're going to use these devices and check the messages and so forth. Number three, having a digital sunset, digital sunrise. Number four, not giving a device to a young person until you know how to set it up properly, the safety, security settings, privacy settings, and so forth. Number five, avoid free games. And number six, lead by example. With that, I think I've spoken for enough. And if anyone's still awake, I'd like to say Jazakumullah khairan. Hada wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. If there's any comments or reflections, please do share.
Jazakallah khair, Ustad. Great reminder. I'm sure everybody's picked up on that as well, especially with now the kids going back to school, and I guess the weekends being spent to kind of relax and chill out from a busy day, a busy week, studying and doing homework and what have you. And kids are getting younger and younger using these devices, so it's important for them to understand. Great tips. I don't think there's been no questions have been raised, because I think the tips that you gave at the end dealt with that. Jazakallah, alhamdulillah. And I'm sure everybody will take benefit from that. Of course, if you have any questions that you would like to raise that you haven't thought of at this stage, then by all means raise it with us and we can direct it directly to Dr. Salman, who inshallah will answer them for us. But Ustad, given the hour, I know some of the kids are going off to sleep now because they've got school. If you can inshallah close the session up with a dua. And just before then, we'll be back again next week inshallah with another different speaker, the details of which we'll put on the WhatsApp groups. And if you're not on there, let us know and we'll add you on inshallah. There's still quite a number of spaces available. Inshallah.
It's got to, before you switch over, can I just mention one thing? Very much like the tips were so useful, I think we're going to have to do a follow-up crib sheet. So inshallah, if you give us a couple of days on it, I'll do a little crib sheet and then I'll send it to Dr. Salman just to quickly look over. And inshallah, I think you'll find that beneficial. So inshallah, that's all Ustad. I'll leave it back to you guys.
Yeah, Jazakallah, good point. Ustad, if you can please close up with a closing dua for us.
Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our shortcomings and give us the tawfiq to act upon these words, protect all our young brothers and sisters and the brothers and sisters, the children of all of our brothers and sisters and our whole humanity at large. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد أستغفرك اللهم وأتوب إليك. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We'll see you all again next week inshallah.
رب العالمين